we're going to be doing our in-cab inspection. So we're going to start off with checking our seatbelt, making sure there's no cuts or frays on the seatbelt, making sure it's in good operating condition. We're going to pull to make sure it engages. We're also going to make sure that it clicks in properly and it is secure. From there, we're going to check our seat to make sure our seat is properly adjusted to our liking. And we're going to continue with checking our mirrors to make sure they're securely attached. Make sure they're clean. They're not broken. There's no cracks. And make sure that there's no stickers that are going to obstruct our vision. And we're going to check to make sure that they are adjusted properly. We're going to check our windows to make sure that they open and close properly. Check our window crank to make sure that the window goes up and down. I'm also checking the window for cracks, any visible damage, any stickers that are going to obstruct my vision, and we're going to make sure that the windows are clean. I'm checking my door latch to make sure that my door opens and closes. I'm checking my door handles to make sure they're securely attached. There is no visible damage. They're firmly in place so that I can close the door, and there are also grab bars so I can help myself get up when I'm kind of coming up the vehicle. I'm also checking the door locks to make sure they work. That way I can secure the vehicle when I leave. From there, check my headliner to make sure it's securely attached. It's not going to fall down and obstruct my vision. I'm also checking my visors to make sure they're securely mounted. Checking for debris or maps. People like to put maps or papers underneath the visors, and making sure it's not there. That way it doesn't fall and startle me when I'm driving. From there, I'm going to check my radio to make sure my radio is in operating condition. I'm going to check my air horn to make sure my air horn operates properly. From there, I'm going to check my window. I'm going to check my window to make sure that it's clean. There's no cracks, no visible damage, no illegally placed stickers that can obstruct my vision. From there, I'm going to check my windshield wipers to make sure that they operate properly. My windshield wipers on the knob is right here on the dash. I'm going to also make sure my blade's intact. It's not cracked or missing. Make sure that the windshield wipers operate properly. From there, I'm going to check my air pressure gauges. My air pressure gauges should gradually rise as the truck accelerates or as I give the truck fuel. I'm going to check my fuel gauge to make sure my fuel gauge is operating properly. If my fuel gauge isn't working, I can use the dipstick method. Grab a clean stick, open the gas tank or the fuel tank, drop the stick in, and we can eyeball to see how much we have. Temperature of the engine should gradually rise to safe operating temperature. Battery again should gradually rise to safe operating temperature. Oil gauge should gradually rise as the truck warms up. I'm going to check my steering wheel. My steering wheel, a 20-inch steering wheel should not have more than 10% play, which would be 2 inches. So I'm checking for play. I'm checking my turn signals, left, right. I'm also checking my hazards to make sure they all operate properly. Over here, I have my defrost. We're used to our truck having defrosters on the door. This one's older, it doesn't have it. So we're just checking the top of the dash to make sure there's no visible damage, to make sure there's nothing obstructing the vents, so that it'll obstruct airflow from flowing. We got to check the defrost and the air conditioning. This truck doesn't have air conditioning. I'm also going to check my lights to make sure my switches operate properly. Panel dimmer. Here we got our truck PTO. We're just going to make sure that it's closed. From there, we're checking our vents to make sure they're not obstructed. Checking the visor on your side, on the passenger side, which again, we're going to check to make sure there's no debris in there or maps or anything like that. I'm going to check my gear selector, reverse, neutral, drive, making sure that it operates properly. On your side of the door, or on passenger side of the door, I'm going to check the mirrors to make sure they're adjusted properly. Make sure they're clean. There's no cracks. They're not broken. I'm going to check the grab handles over there. to make sure they're adjusted or that they're on securely. I'm going to check my window crank to make sure that my window goes up and down. I'm checking both of those windows to make sure that they operate properly. I'm also making sure they're clean, they're free from stickers, no cracks, anything that, you know, any visible damage. On that, I'm also checking the door latch to make sure that the door opens and closes, and I'm checking the grab bar to make sure that it's securely attached. Also checking to see that the door locks properly. On that side, underneath your seat, there's also, underneath the passenger seat, there's also windshield washer fluid. I'm also checking the fuse box up in front. I'm going to continue to check your seatbelt or passenger seatbelt to make sure that it's not damaged, cut, or frayed. Make sure that it engages when needed. I'm checking the rear window, and the seal around the rear window needs to be intact. The reason we're checking that is because we do not want any fumes entering the cab or the sleeper berth. I'm checking the window for any cracks, any damage, make sure it's securely fastened. I'm also checking the map light to make sure that my map light works properly, just in case it's dark and I need to read some maps. Besides that, I'm checking for triangles, safety triangles, just in case I break down. Fire extinguisher, which should be back here, and I'm checking for any debris, bottles, cans, anything that can roll underneath my pedals that can keep me from braking or accelerating correctly. Radiator coolant reservoir in this truck, guess is right here. Besides that, checking my PTO to make sure everything's disengaged. I don't want the dump on this bed to go up when I'm driving. And that should conclude my in-cab inspection.